Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Chakras and Cusswords podcast. Hey, cosmic baddies. I am so glad you are back. Today's episode is all about the Scorpio Zodiac, some of the energy of mythology that's tied into the Scorpio. I would definitely say that the Scorpio is definitely one of the most mysterious constellations out there. Definitely in tropical astrology. And when we are dealing with the Scorpio zodiac, there is a lot of energy that screams intense movement and power. When I think of the Scorpio, there's definitely some things that come to mind. Now, one of the words that stands out is how intense they can be and how intense this energy is. There's some favorite phrases that play out in the Scorpio's mindset, like, I want, ready to accomplish certain situations to gain their area of movement. They're also seen as visionaries, and there's an energy around them that feels very almost dark and seductive. Their aspirations and movement of vision screams the color of a dark red. The metal that represents them is iron, and their stone is an opal. They definitely do have some vulnerabilities. The parts of their body may have some movement of ruptures. And there's an energy of sexual and also reproductive organs that they hold quite nicely in their own being. A little bit more. Their polarity is seen as a negative energy. They are an energy of a fixed modality, and they are the element of water, which makes sense because the Scorpios are known for being passionate and having a perspective that feels entwined with the water element. They're also seen sometimes as a little emotional, but fearless as well. There's definitely some toxicities that ring out with the Scorpio placements. For instance, they could be seen as a little bit obsessive or possessive and sometimes jealous, resentful, and vindictive. When we are looking at their dates kind of fall in between October 3rd to November 1st. And there's everything that is magnetic and mysterious and transformative about this zodiac. Not just being a water element, but also having two ruling planets. Pluto, the modern ruler, and Mars, the traditional ruler. When I think of their mantra, I would definitely see that they shape the world and they shape certain energies around them. They really transform. The Scorpio is the sign of depth, intensity, and transformation. There's usually a deep, dark representation of life and the underworld. This zodiac dives beneath the surface into the areas of emotions, desires, and hidden truths. The Scorpios don't play halfway. They feel love and they fight with all, even if they are a little bit obsessive. They rule the rebirth and the power of the shadow, making them the zodiac who brings alchemy to a turning motion, turning pain into strength, closing old beginnings and starting fresh. The Scorpio craves to be authentic, not like anybody else. They see through the lies, and instantly their intuition is razor sharp. They are known for being very intuitive and even having psychic presence. It's no wonder so many Scorpios are drawn to psychology, spirituality, and of course, the dark occult. They want to understand and they want to be seen as somebody who understands the unseen, a knowledge that is not just granted to anybody. When we look at the ingredients of what can make a Scorpio, we know that the two things that stand out the most is their planetary rulership. Pluto brings transformation, death, rebirth, and even some dark obsession. The area of control and evolution rings far and near when Pluto is around. This dynamic, small but fierce planet really creates the drive that Scorpio has. It's seen as a movement, almost a area of celestial tides, creating that element of clearing away certain factors and bringing in new. Mars definitely adds the passion, the drive, and the boldness. You meet a Scorpio, I guarantee they probably are going to tell you they are a Scorpio. They know this constellation and their energetic makeup isn't something that should be hidden, while some might try to hide it. I doubt it. The Scorpio usually has a Scorpio tattoo or is in love with telling people exactly how it is. This Mars energy definitely brings the fight or flight energy that keeps Scorpios unafraid of confrontation. They don't care if they make you uncomfortable. That is your problem. The Scorpio is going to continue to transcend, move, and create an energy, a frequency. Either you like it or you don't. With these two dynamic rulers, Pluto and Mars, being the main ingredients of the Scorpio, both seen as a warrior or the energy of the mystic, it really creates this area of movement that feels vibrant, dark, mysterious, and quite indulging. Now, if you ever find a Scorpio in love, I'm going to tell you this. A Scorpio in love is in deep love. They have loyal connections. Their core area is protecting not just them, but also the energy around them. They are very loyal and protective to their heart and to their partner. They crave soul level intimacy. They don't like surface level things. They like dark, deep desires being met. When betrayed, I will tell you, a Scorpio can get vengeful. And also, that revenge energy takes place. They remember that healing had to happen. But once they commit, they are all in. In relationships, they can definitely be very passionate and magnetic. You almost feel drawn to the Scorpio or centered around a lure that you just can't deny. While they can be a little bit jealous and possessive and even insecure, they definitely have an energy that feels protective, devoted to their partner. The movement of transformation often triggers their growth and even the growth around others. I'm never surprised when somebody tells me that their twin flame relationship was a Scorpio, challenging them both to change. The Scorpio and the shadow challenges that they bring up can definitely have an area of control, dark magic, and even obsession. Their emotions run so deep that they get hurt, and they get hurt easy. When I think of this energy, I think of Drake. I'm not gonna lie. That lover boy crybaby just doesn't stop. He wouldn't let go of Rihanna. I mean, he basically talked about her for like multiple songs, and even with Serena Williams. He just cannot let things go. Instead of understanding that the relationships just didn't work out, he was seen as movement of being a little bit vengeful. And sometimes when they are hurt, they want to lash out or retreat and hide. So learning to let go and forgive and trust their feelings as a lifelong lesson can be very deep and sometimes challenging for the Scorpio. They do have a lot of strengths. They are fearless and determined. They are emotionally and spiritually powerful. They definitely have a connection to the sacral chakra and the elements around it: water, movement, and clearing. Their magnetic and mysterious properties allow them to do so. They are protective to their loved ones, incredibly so. They downright are manipulators of manifesting. Now, I will say they are incredible manifestors and strategists. You give me a Scorpio placement, I can give them a challenge. And I definitely say they will be able to manifest right through it. They understand the drive and the consistency it takes to manipulate the energy and sometimes people around them. Now, the body parts that are ruled by the Scorpio, of course, ooze with sensuality. The reproductive system, the sex organs, and the elimination system, eliminating toxins. But sometimes the Scorpio has to remind themselves to eliminate the toxins around them and within them. They sometimes have a drive of taking up energies that could feel very addictive and almost have a fighting resilience against their energy of transformation. Sometimes when we are seen with a movement that happens and brings us a power, it could almost be a challenge. And this tends to fit the sign in representation of transformation and rebirth, where they might have obstacles of being stuck in many of some factors that might affect their lives and not understanding that they have to fully close those factors for the rebirth to occur. Now, when we are thinking about famous Scorpios, there's definitely some that stand out. Drake. He is a musician, hip hop artist, born October 24th, emotionally honest, and some would say very intense in his lyrics when it comes to past relationships. And I would even say that he is a little bit revengeful in some of his songs. Katy Perry, born October 25th. She's known for reinventing herself. There's been some controversy and having a pure but sensual element of physical appearance and also lure. Kendall Jenner, November 3rd. She is private, but she's also has a very powerful presence as she is part of the Kardashian clan. She's the half sister of Kim Kardashian, and she's known for her beauty. She's also known for being a supermodel. I believe also when we are talking about the Kardashian clan, we also have Kris Jenner, who is the all-time momager, and she is the mom manager when you're talking about creating billionaires and manipulating situations. Kris Jenner has definitely mastered this craft, taking her children who had very little talent, but some beauty. Some beauty was even bought and paid for, and manipulating the situation as turning her family into a billion-dollar enterprise. Also, Future. For those who don't know, Future is a rapper. He was born November 20th. He has a deep emotional storytelling through his music, but a lot of people know him for his hip hop storytelling that has to do with a lot of his baby mamas, including Sierra, and basically being the ultimate fuckboy. A lot of people say like Future is the ultimate toxic male. I would definitely say that he does have that charisma and characteristic of this lover boy persona, kind of similar to Drake, that feels very centered around just sexuality, feeding the sexual desires, and then leaving their partners. He does get a little bit obsessive as he likes to bring up his old relationships in his song work as well. Whoopi Goldberg, fierce, independent, and strong insight, many would say. She's an actress born November 13th. And then we also have Sean Puffy Combs, who has recently been indicted and charged with transportation of prostitution. We don't know his relationship with Cassie Ventura. A lot of deep, dark, I would even say, sexual rituals took place with Sean Combs, and he definitely has a lot of strong Scorpio placements. Now, I'm not saying all Scorpios are like Sean Combs, not at all, because they do have an energy that feels tied into sensuality, but he was very abusive and he was very, very vindictive. We also have Leonardo DiCaprio, who is a Scorpio as well, an actor, and his relationships have definitely took some interest as the public as it has been announced that he doesn't date women over 25. And Leonardo DiCaprio was born in 1974. So he's like 51 years old. And for him to like be like, I don't date women who are older than 25 is quite interesting. So there's definitely some interesting elements about these famous Scorpios. Let me know what you think about these famous Scorpios in the comments. Now, when we talk about the Scorpio archetype, there's definitely the energy of sorcery, or some would even say psychic ability. The sorcerer, the intuitive magician, the area of the psychic connection of unseen realms is very centered around the Scorpio. Also, the phoenix, the rise from the ashes, transforming pain to power, the energy of closing and burning everything down to fucking become powerful, vibrant, and fly above all obstacles. The detective. I will say the Scorpio definitely has some energy of detection. They seek truth and they uncover secrets. They also have an area of analyzing movements. Now, people also see the energy of the Scorpio as being lover boys, especially the male zodiac Scorpio. As we just talked about three very potent male lover boy elements: Drake, Future, and Leonardo DiCaprio. They are all known for their quote unquote lover boy toxicity that seem to be passionate, a little bit possessive, and deeply devoted to creating connections and energies of sensualities. Now, if there was some life lessons for the Scorpio's soul path is to release, control, and trust transformation. They are born to dive deep into the area of the dark and emerge reborn, teaching the world that vulnerability is a strength and the energies of endings are portals. Now, I would say that I could definitely see a Scorpio being in love or head over heels over another water sign. It almost feels like a match made in emotional heaven. They definitely would feel tied to being deeply connected or seen as having a movement that feels overall very compatible with another Scorpio. So, Scorpios with Scorpios, I would definitely say that they would be centered around water or the modality of being fixed, as they are both centered around that movement. So, I could definitely see a Scorpio, maybe possibly around another fixed sign. But the Scorpio needs trust, passion, and emotional honesty and loyalty. Scorpios seek the depth of loyalty and transformation in love. So, sometimes they're trying to take that relationship to the next level, or they're trying to avoid commitment and brutally abrupt that relationship. So they definitely have that emotional tie to them. A Scorpio with a Cancer, water on water, feels very like an emotional soulmate, twin flame, connective ability. They're both crave safety, trust, and emotional devotion. Cancer soothes the Scorpio's intensity and protects the movement that brings them light. The Scorpio also protects the Cancer's sensitivity. They definitely have a vibe of spiritual connection, nourishing, and also psychic connection, while they are both known as being very intuitive. I definitely see a Scorpio and a Cancer being a power couple, known for their energy that feels almost destined or feels a little bit karmic. Now, a Scorpio with a Pisces definitely brings a deep emotional flow, bringing forgiveness, magic, and romance. The Scorpio brings strength and grounding. They share intuition, creativity, and often finishes each other's sentences. They feel very dreamy, spiritual, and almost telepathic. Now, a Scorpio with a Virgo. That water and earth element could definitely bring a calm, logic balance that the Scorpio actually needs. The passion of the Scorpio might need to be a little bit grounded, and the Virgo knows how to take up that space. They both love privacy, depth, and having a meaningful purpose. I think a Virgo and Scorpio element could work out pretty nicely. Together, they could both build powerful and lasting relationships. They would definitely have a little bit of emotional healing partnership that I definitely think could work quite nicely and also build an area of loyalty and understanding. Another zodiac that kind of screams connection would be a Capricorn, water and earth, both ambitious, driven, and private. The Capricorn provides that stability and strong long term security that the Scorpio likes. The Scorpio also adds the emotional power that the Capricorn might seek. They respect each other's strength. Their vibe could be a power couple in the making, shared goals, mutual admiration, and a drive to manipulate all situations. They definitely have a area of movement. Now, there could be definitely some great lure or intention of movement with a Scorpio and Taurus. Considering that a Scorpio is opposing a Taurus, that magnetic water and earth element of opposition, of going against the waves, can definitely bring intense movement. Now, I would say there would definitely be some challenges in that relationship. And if you are one, let me know. But definitely, I see a Scorpio having challenging relations, possibly with another Scorpio, because it could almost be too intense. Definitely too intense. It could be too intense in passion and psychic connection or total destruction. They're literally a mirror image of each other's shadow, and they can both be very beautiful when healed. But if that energy is not healed and the transformation and the energy of movement has not moved forward, this alignment can feel very toxic and even explosive. Now, I will say what's interesting when I are looking at these relationships, two of the relationships that stand out to me, of course, are Sean Combs and Cassie. Now, Sean Combs was a male Scorpio, and Cassie was a Virgo, a feminine Virgo. And we see that their relationship was very destructive and very intense. Now, not all relationships are like that, but I would prefer that the male was the Virgo and the female was the Scorpio if we are talking about that connection, because I feel that some of the male Scorpios can be a little bit too intense, just too intense for that connection. But of course, not all relationships and not all people are the same. Also, we have the Aries and water fire element that the Scorpio would have a very challenging relationship with because both are ruled by Mars. So the passion could be overdrive. I definitely think they would have a strong connection and attraction where they would be drawn to each other. Like these two as best friends would definitely get into a lot of fucking trouble. Their attraction is strong, but they tend to clash and they could clash more than having a connection. They would definitely have an exciting relationship. It would feel sexy. It would almost feel very short-lived because both evolve and kind of represent their area of intensity on an individual level that emotionally could not create some areas of longevity. Definitely, it could be challenging, but remember, with all relationships, everybody's different. So if you are in a Aries and Scorpio relationship, honey, don't come for me in the comments. Just let me know that it's working out fine. Also, a Leo and Scorpio. Now, they both love control. They both love loyalty and they both love admiration. But I could definitely see there could be some energy of jealousy if one partner is getting more admiration. And many people think that this doesn't happen in relationships, but baby, it does. It really does. You sometimes see where partners can be a little bit jealous of each other. It's weird. It's like this is your person. This is your shadow. And instead of being proud for them, you grow like an area of resentfulness. Now, if the respect is mutual, they can definitely be unstoppable. but the egos could clash and bring massive chaos in this movement. Now, some of the relationships that definitely seem the most difficult when I think of a Scorpio would be a Scorpio and Gemini. Scorpio seeks depth, where Gemini wants a variety and also wants freedom. Their communication is very strong. And while a Scorpio might try to be a little bit hidden, that emotional well being checkup is something that the Gemini craves, and it might kind of create a social battlefield. The communication definitely brings emotional alignment that the Scorpio might feel is quite bothersome. So, Geminis, you know how Geminis are. Also, Libra and Gemini, too. I would definitely see that some of the most difficult relationships are with air signs. So, a Libra, too, loves harmony. The Scorpio likes truth and confirmation and also confronts that movement. The Scorpio might see the Libra as superficial, while the Libra sees the Scorpio as too heavy and dark. Now, an Aquarius and a Scorpio, both fixed signs and both highly intelligent, both highly intuitive. But the Scorpio surrenders to emotions where the Aquarius may try to avoid them. They're fascinated by each other at first, and there's definitely an energy of movement that can feel right. But for a long-term relationship, both of these individuals might have to compromise in energies of movement. Overall, I think the best matches would be Scorpio and other water signs because they have that emotional depth together. So while the Scorpio plays this dark energy and this movement of lore that desires and moves us, a lot of people feel that the Scorpio is literally centered around the energy of Satan or the devil. This is all symbolics of movements of death and rebirth and shadow. While the Scorpio is not connected to the devil or Satan, that's just the energy of mythology and astrology. But the Scorpio definitely has a power and temptation of transformation, rebirth, and shadow. Now, the Scorpio and the shadow archetype is because it is centered around the eighth house, where we see that energy of realm continues to move when a frequency of sex, death, secrets, power, transformation, and the occult. So, this makes the Scorpio the gatekeeper of the underworld, but not in a demonic sense, more in a sense of spiritual and psychological movement. Scorpios are drawn to what others fear. Now, Scorpio placements, you might see that they are a little bit gothy, and that's definitely, I would say, unintentional. They are drawn to it. Some even enjoy pain. For instance, they could be seen as having a dominatrix or being centered around a lot of taboo situations. They also see the energy of truth, while many might fear it. Now, the concept that the devil is a myth often represents the energy of temptation and primal desires, the shadow of self and all things the Scorpio understands deeply. So, Scorpios link that energy of a more understanding the dark, not actually serving it. I would say I have met some Scorpios where I do create this stereotype, and I think the Scorpio is going to be like this dark, all dressed in black, gothic, super tattooed, hot babe. And then I meet a Scorpio and I'm like, really? You're a Scorpio? So I do see these stereotypes of Scorpio. And a lot of it has to do with in astrology. Pluto is the modern ruler and is named after the Roman god of the underworld in Hades' Greek myths. And also, he isn't necessarily evil, but he governs transformation, rebirth, and the unseen, where Mars in Scorpio is the traditional ruler that governs war, passion, and drive. And it gives the Scorpio courage to face the darkness. So while the devil card in tarot, or known as Capricorn's card, the energy of Scorpio both share themes of power and transformation. Scorpio's power comes from healing through the shadow and not worshiping it, while we do like to dive into it sometimes. The myth and the magic that the Scorpio brings is a parallel of underworlds. Now we see the movement in two influential traits or myths that stand out to me. In Persephone, the Greek goddess who descends into the underworld, reflects Scorpio energy, the death and the rebirth through surrender. The phoenix is Scorpio's evolved form, burning its own fire to ash, to rise again, a little bit more stronger and definitely purified. These myths aren't about being evil, they are about alchemy. The Scorpio's rule is to transform darkness into light. And what's interesting is I know a Scorpio rising who definitely had a extremely challenging early childhood. And this Scorpio rising has transformed their livelihood, where many people would have seen this Scorpio rising as having deep, dark, and almost like a sinister life. But the Scorpio rising was able to transform everything that was set in their way. Scorpio's energy is not demonic, it is initiation, it is movement of rebirth. It pulls you through the shadows to teach you empowerment, the depth, and the movement of being born again. It's not that Scorpio people often go through massive transformations in their lifetime, but some do evolve. They are here to evolve and not to destroy. So let's look at some of the beautiful and seen as mysterious myths of the Scorpio. In Greek mythology, Orion was a great hunter. He was tall, strong, and proud. Honey, he was definitely easy on the eyes. Some say he was one of the most handsome men alive. It's giving definitely Leonardo DiCaprio. He was the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea. Orion boosted that no animal on earth could ever defeat him. He was definitely confident and courageous, and that he could kill every creature if he wished. The gods did not love this kind of arrogance. That ego was too big, and God willing will humble you quite quickly. So Gaia, the goddess of earth, sent a giant Scorpio to show him a big cake, a piece of humble pie. A creature from the deep shadows of the earth, the scorpion struck Orion with its deadly stinger, and both were placed in the heavens of Zeus. But this isn't just a cosmic twist. When Orion rises in the sky, the Scorpio sets. When the Scorpio rises, Orion flees below the horizon. They are forever chasing each other, but they never meet, symbolizing the internal dance of ego, shadow, pride, and humility of life and death. And I think that's where the legend of Dancing with the Devil comes with, which is a podcast I'm definitely going to work on. But give me time, babes. Give me time, cosmic bodies. The astrological symbolism is the myths that carry the deep Scorpio energy. The Scorpio represents karma, mortality, and transformation. The moment with arrogance meets its match. Orion represents the ego, the desire to dominate. When Scorpio defeats him, it's a victory of the underworld and intuition over the ego and illusion. So in astrology, Scorpio isn't just the energy of movement, of death, but it reminds us that no matter how powerful the hunter, death and transformation is always stronger. The spiritual well-being and the movement of myth reflects the Scorpio purpose to confront the shadow and the power dynamics. It teaches us the importance of humility, respect, and natural forces. It almost humbles us. The balance between light, death, and darkness. The Scorpio is not evil. It's the keeper of cosmic justice, as some would say, the force that restores the equilibrium when the ego overreacts or gets a little bit too driven. The constellation connection is that the Scorpio is one of the oldest recognized star patterns. It is seen as the energy of one of the brightest stars, Antares, which is known as the heart of the Scorpio. Antares literally means rival of Aries, Mars, connecting the Scorpio's warrior nature. And also, when we look at Orion's belt, the Scorpios are opposite sides of the sky, embodying the internal separation between the hunter and the hunted. Some would even say the energy of rebirth and light. The movement of the myth is that Orion and the Scorpio remind us that power without humility will self destruct. Darkness isn't the enemy, but actually the teacher. And transformation always follows with confrontation of the truth. So definitely take this movement of understanding that the Scorpio is much more than one of the darkest zodiacs. It is the energy of movement and vibration. Let me know how you like this podcast by giving it a rating. Don't forget to share this podcast with your witchy bestie. And please like and subscribe if you're new here. Everybody have an amazing day. Bye.